Okay, just a follow-up video to what we worked on yesterday. So I ended up, I was worried about this pipe falling because we don't know how it's supported up above. So I put a block of wood in here, nailed it. It was kind of hard nailing, especially on the other side where there wasn't much room. Then wedged this in here, then put a strap on it and nailed that a couple times. So I tried to get it as tight as I could, and then after we got everything fitted, we siliconed the top, the bottom, moving it back and forth, strapped it really tight, and then siliconed again, so we get a really good fit here. So let's go downstairs and take a look at some other stuff. So there's a few notes I wanted to make. Over here, because of the distance here to here, we didn't have room to put a small pipe in there and then to put the rubber boot on. Well, actually we were not going to use a rubber boot, but because of this we had to put the pipe right into the plastic, so we siliconed that in, and then we had a boot that we were able to put over top of each of the flanges and silicone and tighten that down. So we wanted support because not only does this serve as a junction, but it also serves as support to keep this upright. So we wanted it to be good and solid. The other thing we did was, over here, that was Orangeburg pipe that goes through the wall. And when we looked in with the flashlight, it was clean. It looked good, and it dropped off right after the wall. So it goes through the wall, and then it dropped, and we don't know how far it dropped, but it dropped at a decent slope. So we had the idea that, why don't we run this 3-inch, because it fits right inside the Orangeburg pipe, why don't we run it far enough that at some point in time when that needs to be replaced outside, you can dig down, find it, and then remove and then connect to this pipe from out there. And then this would stay as is. Might have a short piece of Orangeburg pipe going through the wall, but you would connect the PVC out there. I think we have it far enough out that is doable, that it could be glued onto, and then the connection can be made. So that would be handy if it works. I think it'll work. So we have a new clean out here. So when you're buying all the pieces, you really have to diagram it out, and I kind of messed up and I missed a couple pieces, and we had to go back and get them. But so we wanted to clean out here. We ended up siliconing this because it leaked a little bit, and my go-to is silicone if I get any leaks. We tried to glue everything really good. Here we have an elbow glued really good. I went through and tightened these were here from before, but we also had wooden ones. Well, we decided to remove the wooden ones. We didn't need both. This pipe is so much lighter. And I did go through last night, the last thing, and I pulled a nail and put them back up where they should be, so each one is snug. And here we have so it comes in 12-foot length, so our first one was a 12-footer. And then we have a coupling. Then we have a piece here that goes over, and we had to have a 1 3/4, I think it is, come off that could meet the copper pipe coming from the kitchen. So we used the again, another rubber coupling, silicone when we were putting it on, and then we siliconed afterwards and tightened everything down in between. And then we had a short piece of pipe to another 3 1 3/4, 1.5 inches. I think it's 1.5 inches. And then we put a ventless vent in. Now, we weren't sure if we needed that, but you know, when you're doing all this, there was an indication when we got here the first night that there was it was pulling air from one of the sinks, so it told me that, you know, something's going on. But when we were tearing everything down, and it was a crappy mess, let me tell you, because the pipe down here, this cast iron, was actually clogged. So on the other end it was kind of dry. In here we had all this water backup and crap, and as soon as you started pounding on the pipe, the bottom just broke out and everything just come down, came through. So it was a real mess. A lot of cleaning to get this back cleaned the way it was. So then after we have our ventless vent in here, which that little device there just has a diaphragm in it, and if it needs to pull air, it can pull air. So far we haven't heard it do it. So I also decided we should also have a clean out. Like, what if something does get clogged in here, because it is a low slope. There's a slope, but it's a low slope. This way we can unscrew that. It did silicone it in, but you can still unscrew it, I'm sure, if you have to. You can snake that out and work on that without cutting it and taking it all down. So then this was really tricky here, because we got the weight coming down, which I just talked about earlier. We supported up there by putting the piece of wood in, nailing it, and then strapping it as tight as possible. And it appeared to stay. I mean, it came down a little bit when we were hacksawing it off, but then after I supported it, it did not appear to move when we pulled this piece of the cast iron out. So then it was tricky to get that angle, so we had to go back and get another 23 degree elbow. I wanted a 30 originally. I thought a 30 was it, but it turns out they don't even have 30s. So a lot of fitting, and then to get it all to fit, I needed to remove some of the floor joists, which I know in the past I've said you got to watch out the plumbers, because they're not worried about support. They're going to remove whatever they have to get the plumbing to work. But in this case, I am worried about support. I am also, that's in my mind, but I had to have the space, and thankfully these are 2x8s. Now they are the newer, they're not really full 2x8s. They're 1.5 by probably 7.5, but they are thick, and I didn't remove a terrible amount of material. I mean, quite a bit, but we still have some good material there. So all in all, we did get it to fit. It was really tight getting that to go in, gluing that, and holding it in. I thought I could get it a little bit further, but I could not. So I ended up siliconing that too, putting extra glue on, letting that hard, and then siliconed it later. So the joint appears to be holding. I also strapped this really good right here, because yes, we have it stabilized up there, the cast iron pipe going up, which would look really good. So from there up, I hope it lasts a long time, but at some point in time, maybe it's going to have to come out. But this will help hold all that with the other strap. And then this joint, I was worried about this too, because it's not the perfect angle. We just did not get a perfect angle here to match up to this. Plus, you had to have space here to get this all together. So there's a, it's not totally tight there, but that's the beauty of these rubber boots. There's probably a 3/4 inch gap in here between the pipes, but you can't tell. Plus, we got it strapped really tight, and the angle is able to shrink this down a lot, and I think it's there to stay. I was a little worried about it, but I think it's pretty good. So all in all, we've already done washing, we've used all the bathrooms now. We did let the silicone sit overnight to get good and hard. We did want to take a shower, so we did use the one after about an hour and a half, 2 hours. But then this one, I didn't want to use any of this pipe until after overnight, but it still probably would have been totally fine. Okay, I think that's all the notes. Oh, one other note. So when we were doing all this, the topic of the dehumidifier came up, and they said that it ran all the time. It never stopped. And that there was a lot of moisture in this basement. So then last night, after everything was done, I was thinking, you know what? How much moisture was that old cast iron pipe that was basically bleeding through? How much moisture was that bringing into the basement? And this morning, we noticed that the dehumidifier is only running here and there. It's not running all the time. And it feels totally nice down here. Yes, there still could be moisture coming from other places, but it makes you wonder how much moisture was coming from that cast iron pipe. Probably a lot, because it was clogged. Definitely there was a clog in it, and it was weeping through the metal because it was so rusted. When we started hitting on it, pieces just broke right out. It was that far gone. So it was well worth it. Yes, it was a full day pretty much. I mean, we didn't get started real early. By the time we went and got all the parts, and there was some back and forth, but you know, we were working on it even when the girls went to get parts for us or extra pieces. But great job. Very rewarding to see it all done. It feels cleaner down here, which it basically is, because of all this is just you. So it's a lot of work, but very rewarding. So there you go. Don't be afraid to dive into it. And yes, it's going to take some. It did not cut easy. It's a slow cutting process. I don't know. I did buy some special blades for cutting cast iron, but I haven't really used them yet, and I did not have them with me. But so we did a lot of hand sawing. We did some sawing with a electric, but nothing went fast. Very slow process. And we hammered some parts, but because of all the crap and junk in it, that was not very enticing either, because stuff was going all over. So very tedious process. We took out pieces that were about 3 feet long at a time. So that was kind of nice, because we knock it out in 3 feet chunks, maybe even 4 feet, some of them were close to. Okay, there we go. Cast iron to PVC sewage line.